Funding for this edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been provided by PSE&G, committed to providing safe, reliable energy now and in the future. United Airlines, the Northward Center, Fedway Associates, the Russell Berry Foundation, making a difference, the New Jersey Education Association, PNC, Grow Up Great, Adler Aphasia Center, offering therapeutic programming for stroke and brain injury survivors with aphasia. And by Community Food Bank of New Jersey. Promotional support provided by New Jersey Family Magazine and NJFamily.com. And by Tap Into TV.
This is One-on-One. I'm an equal American just like you are.
The jobs of tomorrow are not the jobs of yesterday.
Look at this. You got this?
Here it is, man. Look at that.
Life without dance is boring.
I don't care how good you are or how good you think you are, there is always something to learn.
Do you enjoy talking politics?
No.
People call me because they feel nobody's paying attention.
Our culture, I don't think, has ever been tested the way it's being tested right now.
Such a good question. High five.
That is some good stuff. I'm Steve Adubato. More importantly, the young lady behind a lot of this is Caroline Cronson, who is producer of Works and Process at, what's that place called?
The Guggenheim.
Now, what were we just looking at?
We were looking at Caleb Taisha with Conrad Tao. We commissioned them to do a dance using sand. He's a percussive dancer, like a tap dancer. We met him through Michelle Dorrance, who's another great tap dancer. And he wanted to explore different sounds and movement to sand. And it's very interesting doing it in a museum because we had to use a whole different load of sand to make sure that we didn't obviously interfere with any artwork or destroy the environment.
Sorry for interrupting, but you said you use a lot of sand, so I'm thinking about this. You said right before we got on the air that part of what Works and Process at the Guggenheim is about is breaking down the third wall. Do you let folks know who in the audience how that happens? Because breaking down the fourth wall, if you will, you let people know what happened, why it happened, what didn't work, because we actually try not to let you know everything that goes wrong, even though our team is the best. The mistakes I make, we cover them up. Go ahead.
We always have a moderated discussion which brings out the whole birth of the project, how they got together, who they are, what they do, and how we get it to completion.
Why is that important?
I think that the general public sees shows. They see shows on television, they see shows on streaming, and there's nothing that replaces seeing people live. There's nothing that replaces actually being in the same room as somebody performing. And the more that we demystify it, the more people come and see it. We really like to get a diverse audience, age range, every single demographic.
So what was, speaking of demographics, Nathan Lane hanging around there recently?
Nathan Lane came and we...
Tell me what happens when he comes there.
Well, we were creating Works in Process to explain Taylor Mack's new piece, Titus, which was based on what happened after the Shakespeare play Titus Andronicus ended.
Right.
It ends in everybody's dead. Everybody's dead. And they were opening on Broadway, and they wanted to show how they created this so that when you went to the Broadway show, you'd know a little bit more about the process. So Nathan Lane came, Taylor, and the musicians, and we had a fantastic 1.5 hours where the audience learned the puppetry, the acting, and the singing.
You know, it's interesting. Sometimes I think my uneducated, if you will, about the arts point of view is the more you know, the more you, I'll use your word, demystify the experience, it could be potentially less interesting. You're making it clear that it's more interesting.
It's much more interesting when you know what goes into a piece, because we see such incredible work from movies to CGI to ballet dancers who look like they could win the Olympics. You have no idea about the hard work that goes into it. And our audience even likes it when things go wrong.
Oh, back up. We don't. Wait a minute. Why would they love when things go wrong?
Because it's humans working. It just makes it more human and more accessible. But you still see the training and the creativity that goes into the work.
Your accent is not from Jersey City. I picked that up.
No, it's not even from Boston. I'm English.
You say that you are from, okay, so give us, well, England and the arts and theater. Your love of theater
came from being English. In comparison to the US, I think more children in England go to the theatre more often. I think tickets are cheaper. I think that because there's a lot more government subsidy, it's much more accessible. And we also were brought up with the arts in school. So we all were in plays or produced plays or sat behind while we had to play the drums or whatever it is people who don't act very well do, me. And,
but you found a place. You found a place in the arts for you that tapped into your creative skills, your talent, your passion.
Yes.
And what is that? See, it's interesting because people say, listen, we're big on science, technology, engineering, and math, otherwise known as?
STEM.
We're big on STEM. Look at our programs. Or STEAM. What's STEAM?
STEAM has arts added.
Oh, that's the, okay. And how much does that help a child, a young person, become more well-rounded?
Well, oddly enough, an awful lot of the arts depends on engineering, science, on STEM activities.
The art of science?
You need to have incredible engineers to create sound. I mean, you're probably surrounded by engineers here.
Trust me, if they were not for incredibly talented. See, but I think our director, our producer, everyone working on the cameras, Patty here, out here, they're artists.
They are. And they need to be recognized as such. But the education and the training that goes into that is extraordinary. And we like to show all the aspects of creation. So we'll show how the costume designer did something, how the scenic designer did something, what engineering problems happen when we try to put sound into the rotunda of the Guggenheim, things like that.
So let me do this, about a minute left. Funding in public broadcasting is always a challenge. How challenging is funding for your organization? You've been doing this for over 30 years.
Yes, it's...
Excuse me. Go ahead. How challenging?
It's challenging. We rely on many individuals. We also rely on foundations, and we do get funding from the NEA and the
National Endowment of the Arts,
yes.
the NEA.
Yes. We just got a wonderful grant from them to recreate the very first show Dance Theatre of Harlem ever performed in New York was at the Guggenheim in 1971. And last Monday, we celebrated their 50th anniversary by recreating that evening.
What was that like for you? What was it like for them as well?
Absolutely one of the most emotional evenings.
And for the artists involved?
They were thrilled. It's such a beautiful place. And to see these gorgeous dancers close up and from the ramps, because you can look down, it's all pale, you see them so clearly. The music was incredible. They were beautiful.
Before I let you out of here, is it the Two River Theater? What's going on Red Bank?
New Jersey.
Check out Red Bank. A lot of great stuff going on there as well.
That's an extraordinary theatre. We used Joe Iconis, who wrote Be More Chill, which was a huge success, and is moving to London. And now he's doing a new play, Love in Hate Nation. It's a 1960s reform school comedy.
So it's going to be great. Set it up just fine.
Yeah.
Caroline, it is a pleasure to have you.
It's wonderful to be here.
Sorry for interrupting. Thank you for bringing us behind the fourth wall.
Come and see the Guggenheim.
Absolutely. By the way, you'll never get behind the fourth wall here at public television, but maybe one day we will. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
One-on-one, Steve Adubato. And this is a great studio here at NJTV, the Agnes Vera studio, where nothing ever goes wrong. We'll be right back.
To see more one-on-one with Steve Adubato programs, visit us online at steveadubato.org. If you would like to express an opinion, email us at info@caucusnj.org. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Steve Adubato, PhD, and follow us on Twitter at Steve Adubato.
Talking esports with Neil Malvone, Assistant Professor, Sports Management, Caldwell University. Good to see you.
Thanks for having me, Steve. Appreciate being here.
What is esports?
What is esports? It's gaming. It's the world that we're living in today, where the kids are participating in gaming activities as opposed to traditional sports.
Is esports starting to about why we have 15 and 16-year-olds that was doing this show? They like sports. They love esports.
Yes, there's a combination. Some of them still play traditional sports as well. There's those crossover games like Madden and FIFA where the athletes that play football and soccer will play the games as well. But now that we're seeing a higher level of kids that are just playing games, not playing sports.
So this is an esports management program.
Correct.
One of the first around?
It's the first in New Jersey. There's only 3 in the entire country, and we decided to make an esports business management degree program at Caldwell University.
What is the esports management? What is that as opposed to just esports?
Because we wanted to focus on the business side of it. The studies are telling us that esports will be $1 billion industry by the end of this year. And so there's opportunities in careers and study similar to business or sport management. We felt that there was a path for esport management as well.
How did you get fascinated by this?
I started with my company, Collegiate Sports Management Group. We started working with some colleges on the competitive side, and then President Blotner at Caldwell.
Nancy Blotner, who is a great fan. P.S. I've been teaching at Caldwell for the last few years on leadership to a group of doctoral students in education. They've been a good friend of ours. But Nancy's leaving,
correct?
Right?
Yes.
And she's stepping down. Very entrepreneurial. She saw the potential here. Is that fair to say?
It was in January of last year. We were at a think tank, and she said, this is something I want to pursue. And by April, we had approval by the state of New Jersey. So she's tremendous. We had great support on campus, and some of our corporate partners helped out with building the arena, including LG, and the students bought into it. It's been fantastic.
Let me ask you this. So the betting piece of this, sports betting, what is the connection between sports betting and esports?
It's a concern in certain levels, especially at the college level. We're looking at it. I teach a sociology of esport course, so we're focusing not only on the positive aspects of sport, but certainly some of the negative influences that can be there. Jersey is a state that allows for legalized betting now, so it is something that we'll be careful to watch. Unfortunately, those online gambling, poker sites became very popular, and so we expect that there's going to be similar to that in esports.
I'm curious about this, Neil. What kind of jobs are we talking about?
Well, that's the interesting thing, Steve. The jobs are plenty. There's events going on. We just had a big event in Queens over the summer, a Fortnite tournament. Thousands of people were there. It was a $3 million prize. So we need people to market those events. We need ticket sales. We need to work on the event process itself, operations. Technology is a big part of it, running the wires, making sure the audience is part of the experience. So you need activation in marketing positions similar to any type of event that you're going to put on. So, and then you throw in the communications piece where...
Marketing. Promotion.
All of that stuff.
What do you mean the communications piece? How's that different?
Well, because the announcers in esport events are not called announcers or broadcasters. They're called shoutcasters.
They are. Stop it. Hold on. You are not messing with our age-old term broadcasting, are you?
In esports, we are. We're calling them shoutcasters. And there's a training that has to go into that like anything else.
1 second. Are you saying the skill set that I've developed over 30 years, public broadcasting, no place in shoutcasting?
For you, Steve, there's a place. For some other broadcasters, there may not be. But yes, it's a different type of skill set that you have to learn.
Is it louder?
It is louder. It's more engaging because there's action going on. To explain it to somebody watching, it's a lot harder than explaining a pitch in baseball or a punt in football. So you have to be more in tune to the game.
Who are the students? First, gender. Male, female, skew male, what?
The industry skews male, but at Caldwell, we've been very fortunate in our first year that we have a good mix of male and female students that have applied to the program. And on our competitive team, it's about 50-50.
Hold on, what are we looking at right there? Take a look at that video. What are we saying? Male and female?
That's our esports arena, and those are some of our team members participating in a practice session probably a couple of days ago.
I'm curious about this. I often watch I'm a Yankee fan. We're in the middle of playoffs. I'm not going to say. It'll be seen after. We don't know. Giants, the whole bit, right? Do the games take too long for younger people? In general, any sports moves faster?
It is part of it.
I don't want to simplify it,
no,
but my
that-
kids are like, Dad, really? 3 hours?
It's a short attention span. They could play a Fortnite game in 20, 25 minutes, where sometimes it seems that long for a commercial break during a halftime of a football game. So it is a factor. There is a shorter attention span for this generation, so they enjoy these type of activities where they don't have to be focused on something for so long.
Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in New York, in Brooklyn and Long Island. Yeah.
Jersey, Brooklyn. You love Jersey more, don't you?
Well, of course, that's where I am now, so that's where my kids are, so that's
But
what I
also
have to
once in
say.
Brooklyn is a hardcore Brooklyn thing.
That's true.
By the way, I'm fascinated by this whole question of sports and esports. And I've also, without getting on a soapbox, I've seen a whole bunch of folks who are interested in esports who just have no interest in sports. It's not either or.
Right. It's not an either. It could be, but again, for us on campus, it's a way to bring those students that are a little disenfranchised, from the traditional sports into the campus community, which is a big part of why we did this.
Neil, thank you. Say hello to our friends up at Caldwell.
I certainly will. Thanks
Stay
for
right
having
there.
me.
One-on-one, I'm Steve Adubato. This is not e-broadcasting. It's just broadcasting. We'll be right back.
To see more one-on-one with Steve Adubato programs, visit us online at steveadubato.org. If you would like to express an opinion, email us at info@caucusnj.org. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Steve Adubato PhD and follow us on Twitter at Steve Adubato.
This is Dr. Angela Alistar, Medical Director, GI Medical Oncology, Morristown Medical Center, part of the larger Atlantic Health System. Good to see you.
Thank you for having me.
Area of expertise is pancreatic cancer.
Pancreatic cancer, gastrointestinal cancers, and phase 1 studies.
Can we talk about pancreatic cancer?
Absolutely.
How prevalent in our country?
It's quite prevalent, and it's going to become even more prevalent. It's expected to become the second leading cause for cancer mortality in the United States.
Because?
Because of many, many competing factors. And we can talk about them one by one, but really, since we have limited time, is our public national problem with weight, with diet, with the unaddressed big elephant in the room. I think that
the big elephant
in the room, which is our unhealthy lifestyle in the United States.
That's the biggest contributor, doctor?
Yes, I think it's one of the reasons why the pancreatic cancer is becoming a public health problem.
So let me ask you, I'm curious about this. There are a lot of people watching who say, wow, pancreatic cancer, as cancers go, that's a really bad one. Anecdotally, they talk. And so I ask, well, how treatable is it?
Well,
and does
first,
it depend?
Okay, before I move forward, I want you to repeat after me. Pancreatic cancer is not always a terrible illness.
Pancreatic cancer is not always a terrible illness. Go ahead.
And the reason I'm saying that is because we have to stop being so pessimistic about pancreatic cancer. I see pancreatic cancer every day. It's really sort of my main tumor type, although I do see all cancers. And I have many success stories that somehow we kind of we are not talking about them enough. So I think the attitude towards pancreatic cancer has to change, and we need some cheerleaders to emphasize the need for research, the importance of clinical trial involvement. I'm kind of tired of this whole pessimistic attitude about pancreatic cancer.
Why is it more treatable than 10, 15 years ago?
We do have more. We currently have 3 standard of care combination regimens that do change lives. They're not curative, however, and this is why most patients with pancreatic cancer should be in a clinical trial, in my opinion.
Because?
Because clinical trials will give them better options. Most of them are now early stage, and they combine standard of care treatments with investigational agents. And there is so much exciting news and research and so much activity that unless you are going to place your effort and your emphasis in the first lines of treatments, you're not going to make progress. So I don't want to hear that pancreatic cancer is fatal. I don't want to hear about how some personality is having a special treatment. I just want the public to know that if you have pancreatic cancer, you should be at least approached for a clinical trial, and you should know about your options.
So let's do this. Two things. Number one, I want to make it clear that Atlantic Health is one of the healthcare organizations that support what we do. The other thing is you mentioned high-profile figures. There are a significant number of people watching right now, Doctor, who, when you said high-profile figures, think of Alex Trebek. And as we do this program in the fall, early October 2019, Alex Trebek is out there. You tell me, because I know you have very specific concerns and issues.
So I think, so every time I hear about another personality that has to battle pancreatic cancer, I have mixed feelings, because I do know that I obviously feel very bad for them.
Of course.
But I also know that they could do so much to help, because the more visible you are, the more you can help.
The public discussion around pancreatic cancers and other serious cancers really does affect the way patients come and speak to physicians.
Yes, yes.
Fair?
That's fair. So what I would love to see when somebody who does have such visibility would focus on, or at least bring into the fold or bring awareness to, is how are we going to beat this cancer? How are we going to change this, as opposed to this is me, this is what's happening, I'm in, I'm out of shows. How about the regular blue-collar worker who is battling the same illness, who is still going to work as well? How about that person? So I would love to see a little bit more of a public effort to emphasize how important it is that we have a national conversation about pancreatic cancer at a different level, and how important it is to be in a clinical trial and to move the field forward.
Well said. Let me just do this. We're taping, as I said, on the 2nd of October. We wish Alex Trebek all the best. And when this program repeats, again, we wish him best. But let me try this. Are there, early detection, are there signs and symptoms?
So the clinical signs and symptoms are so elusive that we really can't go by that anymore. And we, even the most attentive physician is most likely going to use vague symptoms that come and go, and then 6 months later end up, being a real diagnosis. The way I talk with my patients about pancreatic cancer is that, and their family, because if a patient has pancreatic cancer, the family has pancreatic cancer. That's really the conversation. How do I prevent this from happening to me? Is that anytime you have something that's lasting more than 2 weeks and is not getting better with supportive care, with your over-the-counter medicines, please go and insist on being further evaluated.
Don't wait.
Yeah, exactly. Don't wait. Don't make it 6 months later that you're going to have additional evaluations. On top of that,
A few seconds left. Go ahead.
On top of that, now the new standard of care is that every patient with pancreatic cancer has the right to be tested for genetic mutations that would translate into risk for the family. So it is really very important that everybody knows that it's standard of care to be genetically tested for mutations that may predispose someone to pancreatic cancer.
Doctor, you just helped a lot of people, and I want to thank you.
Thank you.
We'll keep the conversation going.
Sounds good.
This is One-on-One. I'm Steve Adubato. We'll see you next time.
One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation. Funding has been provided by PSE&G, United Airlines, the Northward Center, Fedway Associates, the Russell Berry Foundation, the New Jersey Education Association, PNC, Grow Up Great, Adler Aphasia Center, and by Community Food Bank of New Jersey. Promotional support provided by New Jersey Family Magazine and NJFamily.com. And by Tap Into TV. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area.
Look around. 1 in 7 New Jersey children goes hungry every day. Hunger is everywhere right here where we live, and it doesn't look like you think. Help the Community Food Bank of New Jersey feed our hungry neighbors.
Do you make decisions, do I eat or do I get my medicine? Do I eat or do I pay my rent? And you got people making decisions like this each and every day. juggling their finances. How are they gonna pay a bill here? Do I pay my car note or do I eat?